Oh, just the AI. Okay.
Hey man,
How you doing, Adam?
pretty awesome. I've been thinking a lot about this meeting since we last chatted with each other, like on a daily basis. And I did not tell you last time we were talking, which was when I thought we were recording a podcast.
Yeah.
Uh, at that time, on that day, I was probably having what I would say the worst bout of anxiety and depression I have had in years,
Okay.
and it's no joke. And I think there was a purpose for that, actually. I really do.
Yeah.
Because it made it so that I was a lot more open to understanding that I need to change something in my mind, in my mental mindset. And you were the guy at the time, and whether or not you are the perfect guy for this job or not, I'm not
Yeah.
going to say. But you were the guy at the time who came to me when I was at, I would call it almost rock bottom mentally and emotionally.
Okay.
And so that's the context. And so right now, I'm I'm willing to do and work on whatever it is that we can figure out here. I'm highly motivated.
Love it. Thank you for, yeah, having the trust to just share that and jump right in. And it is kind of hitting that bump it, like that bottom, or I know from my own experience when those deep patterns and that like despair creeps in, it's like, oh yeah, it's time for the next evolution and to like let some parts go. That's been my own experience. Um, so with that, how are you doing today? How has things been since the last time we talked?
Well, the reason I know that I was suffering so badly last week is because the day after and ever since then, I'm basically back to normal. Like
Okay.
my my life and my mindset and my typical outlook on life is very positive for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like a default setting. I have a ton of energy every day, and my routine has not varied in a really long time.
Yeah.
And so I have put a lot of those sort of things in place to get up intentionally and spend time mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically preparing for my day. And I've done all those things just like I normally would on any other week or month or year. And like I've got a daily journal that I keep track of everything that I do each day. And there's like a checklist item of things that I do every single day without fail.
Yeah.
And I'm tracking all that stuff religiously. So you ask how I'm doing, and I would say I'm normal right now, which is to say, uh, very positive and feeling really good and confident. But I also know that at any given moment, I could fall back into some of those old patterns, and I really don't want to.
Right. Well, it sounds like this could be the day to jump into those and see what comes up and get to the other side. But with that, I could take you through the full process of getting that thrilling vision. I like to give the extra 30 minutes because then we can go deeper, right? The thrilling vision, and then that's going to bring up the mindset, and then the mindset's going to bring up the blockers, and then the last little bit are like, what are the next steps to go create that vision? So with the extra breathing room, like we get to go deep into what those blockers are. So I'm sure we'll find something good. We'll find some gold. So with that, let's go ahead and just ground into this moment. If you want to close your eyes, you can, or just sit there. We're just going to take 3 deep breaths. Just take a deep breath in, let it out. Another deep breath in, let it all out. Just letting go of everything else so that we could just be fully present in this moment and create max value. And another deep breath in and let it all out. Just recenter. My goal here today is to create as much value as possible for you. And like you said, we don't know if we're a good fit to work together moving forward, but I'm going to give you everything I got in this time together because that's how I work. And then the right people who are both a hell yes on both sides, those are people considered to work with moving forward. But I know we'll get somewhere good. So let's start. I mean, would it be exciting for you to explore a thrilling life vision?
Yeah.
All right. So just to set the container, like this is your space, right? So this is your opportunity. Uh, Total client confidentiality here. I'm not recording this. I'm not going to be sharing anything. So I just want to set that container like this is your space, right? This is transformation is messy. So this is where the beautiful thing with a coach is the coach gets to hold space for you to be as real as authentic as possible. And I'm somebody who's like, let's get to the truth, even if the truth hurts, even like feedback for me on stuff. So just acknowledging that there. And then I'll say, not so much in the first sessions, but I'll just ask like, is it okay and challenge you here and there if I feel like it's going to serve you coming through love.
Okay. Deal.
Yeah. And lastly, can we have some fun?
I hope so. Humor is a big part of my life.
So with that, I want to imagine you paid $100,000 for coaching for the next 12 months. What would be the results you've created that would make it the best money ever spent?
Well, in a grand scheme of things, I would have to be able to define uh, what the return on investment for that is. That's the way that I process spending money.
Yeah,
And I've spent that much money on other things in the past in that exact same time frame. So the amount of money doesn't bother me at all. What I get for it, that is extremely important, and that is what you asked, right? What do
yeah.
I expect to get for spending 100 grand in
And if
12?
it's like you've spent 100 grand, okay, maybe we say 200 grand, amount that's just like, ooh, that kind of stings. So I better get a damn good ROI out of this investment because that is a lot of money I'm putting on the table. So
Yeah.
we're use
So
that energy.
if I'm going to come up with an amount of money that stings,
Yeah,
I'm going to have to say more than 100 grand because, I can imagine a world where I mean, I have spent that much already this year on investments,
yeah,
and I'm expecting a positive 20% return on that money over a 5-year period. And then I expect to get it all back again at the end of 5 years. That's how I typically invest in things.
yeah.
It's just a mathematical calculation that I'm comfortable spending that money because I know I'm going to get it out the other end with twice as much as what I put in eventually. So if I'm going to spend any money on an unknown uh, service or product or anything, then it would probably have to be a minimum of 150,000. And I would expect to get at least uh, a 3 or 4x multiple of that money moving forward every year. So I'm setting really high expectations on that expense, more than I would expect from an investment
No,
because it's much more of a risk. to me.
Yep.
Investing is not risky to me because I've done it for years. I know what works. I know what doesn't. I know what I'm comfortable with. And so I don't want to be comfortable. I want to get really afraid and I want to take a huge risk and I want to get a huge return on that. And I'm thinking 3x plus yearly income from that expense
Yeah.
is what I would expect as a minimum. I'm scared to say a 10x because that is hard to imagine for me. An expense of a fairly small amount of money in the grand scheme of things
Yeah.
to 10x for me yearly, like a yearly 10x, 10 times 150K every year. So 1.5 million a year for as long as I can conceivably continue to get it. Like it's just recurring passive income.
Yeah. And I love that you got specific there because that's what we're going to do. We're going to like, it's like a blank canvas. It's really what is that vision so thrilling you're willing to pay the price sacrifice to go get it. So that's what we're creating crystal clear, specific, and expansive, just to kind of give a sneak peek of where we're going. So would you say creating 1.5 million revenue by the end of December 2025? Like, is that a thrilling vision?
Yeah. And it's hard to believe.
Yeah, good. Okay. So this is where I'm going to keep pushing you. We're going to get outside the intuitive fence. I think I may have shared this on the podcast, but once again, visualize a circle here, and the intuitive fence is what we think's possible, right? So when we show up at our best, we kind of create goals within our intuitive fence. But we want to, like, going for the moon, to create something outside the intuitive fence to what are we capable of, and it gets past kind of the old evidence of the past and stepping into possibility. So with that, we're going to paint the picture both inward transformation and outward transformation. What does that look like? So what else other than 1.5 million a year in business? Like what else would you want out of life that 3 to 4x, but really that 10x return? If it was this perfect vision, 10x return, like what would that be December 2025?
Are we still talking in terms of money or are we just
All areas of life, like
all
the
areas?
big areas of life that you want to focus on. Maybe not all areas, but the big ones, the main rocks that you want to focus on.
Okay. Uh, well, I fully realize I am operating within the realm of my comfort zone, I guess,
Okay.
because uh, I
Great
am
catch.
comfortable.
Like great awareness, right? And then you get to acknowledge it and be like, okay, what's outside? So continue.
So I can imagine. Let's. I want to talk about health, physical health.
Yeah.
I've been at my ideal body weight and uh, physical abilities before, um, never at the same time. So I would really like to be. I'd like to be able to maintain my strength and increase my muscle mass, which I have. I track that just about every year using a DEXA body scanner.
Yep.
Do you know what that is already?
Yeah. Yeah, I did one last fall.
Yeah, so I've done one twice now in the last 6 years, and my general practitioner doctor, they have one at their office now, so I'll be able to check that even more regularly. But I don't think it's worth doing more than every 6 months or so because your body just doesn't change that fast
Yeah.
in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
And so my ideal body weight is about 185 pounds,
Okay.
but my muscle mass needs to be higher when I drop that much weight.
Yeah.
Because when I did my body scan, I dropped a significant amount of muscle mass as I was dropping body fat. And so I want that to shift. I want to just drop body fat and keep all of my lean muscle mass that I possibly can.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
Like I can drop weight, no problem. And uh, so the actual weight that I want to be is not the most critical calculation. But I do know when I'm at that weight, that overall body weight, that's when I feel like my most healthy mentally and physically. And my clothes fit the way that I want them to. And I feel really positive about the way that I look. And that happens when I hit about that 185 mark. But my internal organs, my muscle mass, which I can't see, that's what I really would like to figure out the best ratio for my body. And I don't know how to do that quite
Yeah.
yet. I do know that again, when I'm down to 185, my strength goes down in all the areas that I track. And I use an app called Fitbod that allows me to track all of the weights that I lift and how much in reps, and it puts together a program to continue to help me improve all of those things, full body. And I work out every day based on what it tells me to.
Yeah.
And I have been gaining weight slowly for the last 6 months, and my muscle gains, my strength has been going up as well.
Yeah.
So physical strength is very important to me. Muscle mass is very important to me. And I know my set body weight needs to be about 185 or so. And if I can maintain that and then continue to see my muscle mass increase and my strength increase even just a little bit, I would be ecstatic.
Okay.
That would be a
Good.
thrilling vision for me.
Yeah. So let's stay with that. Let's push this down what we call the funnel of specificity, because you could see the difference between I want to put on some muscle mass this year, right? Big, versus I'm gonna put on you could go either way. Like I'm going to put on this amount of percentage or this amount of lean pounds in muscle mass by this date, or the opposite of like I'm going to decrease body fat by, down to 11% by this date. So if you had to push it down to get specific, so it's just black or white, like we have data, if you're going to hit it, what would that be?
Yeah, I need to get down to 15% body fat as tracked by DexaBody by December 2025, December 31st or whatever. And I I don't want to lose any muscle mass at all. I don't want my muscle mass to drop.
Okay. Yeah, and other than the confidence and just like feeling more confident and strong like in all areas of life, like is there anything else that really does for you? Like why is that so ecstatic for you?
Well, it also I know that since I have high cholesterol, that is probably going to be something that also lowers as well. So my longevity will, my lifespan will likely increase as I work towards this particular goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to be as healthy as possible for as long as possible is part of what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have kids and family?
Yep. I've got an 18-year-old boy
Okay.
and a 14-year-old daughter, and that's it. And then my wife, we've been married for 20 years.
Oh, congrats. So you want to see your grandbabies, be strong, like be able to do activities with them. Is that my guess?
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So we got crystal clear. 15% body fat, December 2025, while losing no muscle. And then also 1.5 million a year from business. Is there anything else that's like really just be ecstatic to have that end of December 2025?
No, those two things are um, honestly the most critical parts because it means that I'm not going to kill myself to achieve one or the other because I've got my physical health that's just as important to me as my financial health,
Yeah.
and they go hand in hand.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Okay. Now I know you said you had a bunch of different businesses. Like, is there any specific things within those businesses that'd be an outcome that you'd want to create?
Um, well, for one of them, one of the businesses, I was working on it this morning actually. It's called Idea Wins. It's a business with two other partners. We're we're not all equal partners, but I'm a 30% owner,
Yeah.
and the other guy is 30, and the other guy is 40. But as far as decisions and moving forward, we all share responsibility equally, and that's the one that's got the most, I think, blue ocean for creating that amount of wealth
Yeah.
generation on a passive basis by
Yeah.
just doing some really small and simple things because it's really just an outsourced sales operation where we recruit affiliates to go out and sell products for us, and it's all strictly commission based. So I don't have to put any money in. We don't have to hire anyone. We just go and recruit people that are willing to work just on commission and work their own leads that they're generating for themselves within a couple of specific industries like healthcare and insurance and wound care.
Yeah. Sounds like you kind of like that being that investor and just watching things a little bit more passive. Like that's come up a couple times. So you kind of create those things that you're not quite as hands-on all the time.
Well, yeah, I like to create systems and processes that don't require me to be involved constantly and every single day.
Yeah.
But doing the work to create those things, I'll move a mountain up
Yeah.
front.
Yeah. Okay. So let's kind of jump in to become the version of Adam, 1.5 million a year, December 2025, 15% body fat, lose no muscle. Who would you need to be or become to be that version?
Is this a question that I could answer by saying, how would I need to change? Or
Who would you need to be in order to accomplish the vision?
um, a different version of myself,
Yeah.
I believe.
And this is where we can like even play with it. Like if you were to like visualize yourself going into the future and it's that version of you that is created that 1.5 million a year and you're down to 15% body fat and you feel ecstatic about life and the results you've created for yourself, like what are the qualities of that person, that version of you?
Um, I don't know exactly how to answer that. I feel like I can imagine what you're trying to pull out of me.
Yeah.
And so this is where I don't know even what the possibilities are as far
Oh,
as an answer goes.
okay.
So maybe you could give me some, basic suggestions, maybe nudge me in
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
some
And
areas.
just curious, like, is that projecting in that future? Is that something that's hard for you in other areas?
Um, yeah, I guess I would have to say that is hard for me to do. Not impossible,
Yeah.
but I don't really have a clear uh, idea on how or what the process is.
Yeah, you love to come back to process. So you kind of, I don't know, is it like a dichotomy of like you don't know what the process is, but then you're like figuring out the process in the moment, or like what does that look like?
Yeah, I do like figuring out processes, but if there's already a process that exists that can help me, that I can
Yeah.
implement, then I will just 100% take that on and use it.
Okay.
If it works for me, then I 100% want to use it. I don't like to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. So it's coming up for me is to like jump into the blockers and then see if the way of being like comes out from the other side of that. Kind of
Okay.
like different route.
Yeah.
So if I were to just ask you bluntly, like what's stopping you from having all this?
Um, I don't think I can keep that belief and that vision in my mind as much as I have a belief and a vision that I'll lose everything.
Hmm. Well, acknowledge you for going right there. Tell me more about that. That I'll lose everything.
So let's see. I did write this down a couple months ago. I am constantly bombarded with the sense of doom that everything I have and love will be lost and will all be gone suddenly in one fell swoop without the possibility of getting it back ever again. Or rather, that God will take it all away.
Mhm.
And I don't have any physical evidence that tells me that that will ever happen.
Yeah.
It's just this impending sense of future doom that God has given me all that I have, and so one day He's going to take it away again.
And what feelings does that stir up in you when that happens?
That's just super fearful and anxiety and uh, helplessness.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm hearing like typically you're a pretty happy guy and you got your practices that keep you grounded in who you are and like moving forward. And then this like helplessness like just creeps in and this fear, like I'm gonna lose everything. It's just gonna like one sweep, one fell swoop out of the rug and everything's gonna be gone.
Yep.
And just thinking about different ways of going with this. Because one, the truth is like you're right, right? It's gonna happen to all of us. One day it's just going to be the last breath and we're going to be out of here. Now, I'm what occurs for me is your experience is that all your loved ones and everything else is going to be taken away from you and you're going to be left all alone uh, in your own helplessness. But what what does that really mean for you?
Yeah, I do really feel like if if everything gets taken away, then that means that I won't be able to provide anything for my family. And that's the most important thing for me. That's why I'm doing all of this is because that is my motivation to take care of them in everything that they need. And I do know also that it's not my responsibility to give them a full ride in everything in life. They have to be the ones that work for things. And so that's a competing belief system, I guess, that I've got. I know, and I tell my kids this. You guys, I it's my job to teach you how to take care of yourself eventually.
Yeah.
So I'm working on doing things like that. But at the same time, I want to provide them the best life that I possibly can.
Yeah. I could see that in you and it's beautiful. It like calls you up into a next level, right? To be
Yeah.
that provider. What does it say about you if you couldn't provide for your family?
Well, I'm not worth loving or having.
Mm. And like, thank you for jumping in. And I want to acknowledge, like, I remember you sharing your story and always moving, and your dad was a clown in the circus. So we could start to tie in these like really deep-seated patterns, right? Which really create that helplessness. Like I'm wondering, like, was there time with your parents where you didn't feel that connection and support or like groundedness as a kid?
Um, it was rare to feel that
Yeah.
because I think one of the things that probably impacted that more than my parents' inability to express emotions in the first place was I'm the oldest boy of a family of 8 kids.
Okay.
So the amount of time they got to spend with any one of us in any one-on-one situation was pretty limited.
Yeah. I imagine if you're the oldest of eight, like you were, I'm guessing, like put in the caretaker role more than others, and like you had to step up as a kid and didn't get to just kind of be a kid.
Yeah, by the time I was 12, um, I'd really taken on a lot of responsibility on my own. A lot. My mom did not really say, "Hey, you have to do all these things to take care of the family." That was never a conversation we had.
Yeah.
But it was just like expected that I had to help. I and I feel like I wanted to because I get a sense of value out of serving
Yeah.
in a lot of different capacities. I serve in my community as far as being a member of the church,
Yeah.
serve my family every day, my wife. Service is a big part of who I am, and it definitely makes me feel valuable.
Yeah.
And so if I couldn't serve, like if you told me take a month off from serving, my value would drop through the floor.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I was going with any of that, honestly. I don't even remember what you asked. But
No, it ties in perfectly with like even today, right? I won't be able to provide for, I won't be able to serve my family. And I'm guessing your family is one of the highest values, and then like community, along with faith and everything else, right? So it just
right.
shows, like illustrates that. And I'm curious to just go there for a little bit of when you're that that little atom and like moving constantly. Like I would imagine having friends or like some form of like, yeah, I know these people or something, and then it's just like taken out under from you and like gone to another area. Was that your experience?
Um, Not so much.
Okay.
Not because I didn't have friends that were taken away. It was more like I was homeschooled from third grade to ninth grade.
Yeah.
So my family was my friends
Okay.
and people at church.
Yeah.
And uh, it was hard to connect with people at church at that age. Like when you're young, preteen, teenager,
Yeah.
it's just not like a time where you connect with people very easily in general. So I had a tough time connecting with anybody my age to begin with, and anybody who I did consider a friend, it was usually a family member, whether it was a sibling or a cousin or an aunt or an uncle. It was all very family oriented friendships and connections.
Yeah. Yeah. So almost a little bit of like it's kind of hard to belong in a place and just be you fully.
Yeah, when there's people that are outside of my family, 100%.
Mm.
And I guess that's probably why I'm I probably struggle with doing very good, solid business with people that aren't my family members. Like
Yeah.
Idea Wins, it's me and my 2 cousins. We're the
Yeah.
owners. One of my
Yeah.
other businesses, it's me and my uncle. one of my other businesses. My parents and my kids work for me.
Yep.
I have one person in all of that who's not a family member.
Yeah. It shows there's like, look at that, right? Look how that pattern has like just continued and evolved over time. And not even to say it's right or wrong. And then it's like the vision moving forward, is it empowering or disempowering going towards the vision? But there's something deeper you said earlier than that that I kind of want to set it up to see if like you go there. Like the dynamic with your family, did you, and I know you kind of answered this before, but again, like did you always feel that love and support at all times from like all the different family members?
No,
Okay.
there's a lot of times where uh, I would get. So we had some pretty strict rules growing up, and anytime you broke the rules, there was a there was punishment. There was physical punishment. There was withholding of food, or they didn't necessarily withhold uh, time and attention, but I didn't really get a lot of that anyway. So it's not like I missed it a whole lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up very much afraid of consequences if I messed up somehow.
Yeah. So coming down to like the roots, like the core things, and you, what I'm hearing is I'm not safe and I'm not lovable. How does that feel in your body?
Oh, well, I do not want to believe you when you say that, but at the same time, um, I can very much uh, logically see where that's showing up. That's not a thought pattern that I'm comfortable saying that that's what I think
Yeah.
a lot, but I know that that's a real issue that I have.
Yeah. Perfect. Because we're looking for that thorn in the side when you hear those I am not statements, you're like, ooh, it hurts. But like you could tell, like you've already been able to like, no, I'm gonna create value. I'm gonna do these things in life. I'm gonna take care of it. Like by creating a lot of value for my loved ones, like I am lovable. So this is where you could start to see some of the patterns of your life that created who you are today, right? So we get to respect this part of us, this pattern, because you're the only atom in the infinite of eternity that has the same life journey as you, right? And experience. So it's like cultivated who you are today, but to get down to those, like how or how did those actually serve you by taking on those belief patterns?
Oh, yeah, I've thought about that quite a lot actually.
Okay.
And
Here's
that
some big
that
headlines.
um that honestly that fear that I would lose everything and I'm not lovable and I can't provide for my family, that is what motivates me more than half the time, probably.
No.
And it's a fear instead of doing it out of love for myself
Yeah.
and for them.
Yeah. When that fear rears its head, like it did a couple days ago, like what is that like for you?
Um, it feels like the sky is dark, even if it's sunny outside. Feels like there's just an hour or two left of possibly having anything good in my life. It's like things are so close to just blowing up completely. And I feel it like in my gut
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah. And has that been consistent like throughout your life? Like this fear just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back? Or is it like been more prominent lately?
Um, I don't remember feeling like this in my 20s,
Okay.
but ever since I started my own business, which was late 20s, early 30s, the pressure and the anxiety that I felt on a regular basis, it does come up regularly and constantly. And I'd say it's almost daily.
Okay. Yeah, so we got some of the costs of how it's like sucked life out of you, right? And put you in the dark.
Yep.
Like let's just play for a second. We're playing with the worst case scenario in life. Like if this pattern continues, like what's going to be the cost in this moment and then what's going to be the cost in the future?
Okay. I don't understand the question
Yeah,
fully.
yeah, cool. Let's start with what does this cost you? This everything's going to be taken away. I'm not safe and I'm not lovable. Like, what is this costing you in life right now in this moment when it rears its head, like a couple days ago? Like, let's really paint that picture and let you feel that for a second.
Okay. So what happens is it takes me out of being able to feel any sort of love for myself or for anyone else. It takes me out of feeling connected to anyone, whether that's to myself or to my family or to God, family, friends, anyone. Like it fully takes me into this little world where I'm all by myself and nothing and no one can help me.
And if this pattern were to continue, like, first acknowledge you, like, respect for going there, right? You're coming up with your greatest fears in the moment. And if this pattern were to continue, like, what would that cost you moving forward in your health, in your finances, in your faith, in your family?
I, I do know that the thing that it would impact the most, because I've seen the pattern, like I can look back at like 2 days ago, it was right there. 3 days ago, 4 days ago, it's, I can see what happens. And it costs me time with which I could be laughing and happy and connecting with my family and my friends. But that I can't get it back. And uh, yeah, that's the biggest cost.
You know,
I don't
time,
know. Yeah,
laugh, connection, more love,
yeah,
self-love.
yes, all of the above.
How does it feel to just share this out loud?
It's really not that hard.
Okay.
And this is all stuff that I have thought about before, but I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it
Yeah.
because I think my brain wants to protect me from going down this route because I could either become the best version of myself or I could stay in my cycle. And I think I know my brain wants to keep me in whatever the cycle is for a real, probably good reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what the reason is, but my brain is doing something to try and protect me in all this.
Spot on. And I can resonate because it's been my own experience of, right? Like I repressed a lot of emotions and things that were painful, and I would go into my head and be very stoic because that was my safety zone. If I wasn't in my body fully, I didn't have to feel all the things. So we'll go through the process of like coming back to truth and breaking through and then like seeing what's on the other side of that and how you can be committed to that moving forward. So I'm going to ask you some yes or no questions. And we're going to kind of work on two things at once. Sometimes I just do one, but we'll try both at once, okay?
Okay.
So just answer yes or no. Is it true, yes or no, that Adam is not lovable,
No.
right? And then I ask again, is it absolutely true that you are not lovable?
No.
So, where were you born?
North Dakota.
All right, Adam, born of North Dakota. Would I be able to find a manufacturing label inside of you that says I'm not lovable?
No.
So, where does this live?
Where does this live?
You know, this idea that I'm not lovable.
In my head?
Yeah. And then we can get really precise, right? Beyond in your head, like you have a something, and what is that that makes this belief?
Um, I don't know.
Okay. So we have a thought,
Yeah.
right? We're just getting really granular. And then a thought is actually like energy and vibration. So we have this vibration coming out of our mouth that puts us in this story that I'm not lovable. Therefore, I'm going to have to show up in ways to prove my worthiness of love and be there overly as much as I can for my family to show that I am lovable and that I belong. And, getting into the not safe too, that I could show up in ways to make sure I feel safe. But at the end of the day, I'm afraid that everybody's going to find out I'm not lovable and lose all this. But it's all words. Beautiful. Is is that emotions coming up? It's hard to tell.
Yeah. It is.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sit in that. Like honor that, please. What are some things coming up? I'll let you process for a second. Because by honoring it like with tears is how you release it.
I think it's so true that the way that you phrased that was just so painfully honest. And I don't remember exactly what you said, but it was like, I have to show up for my family and prove that I am lovable. And if I don't, then that means that I'm not anymore. Something like that. Like,
Yeah.
that was powerful.
Yeah. And it's funny because like we can know these things in the head, but it's another thing to get it in the body and then open up your heart to it, right? Like you're a divine being of light and love and like divinity and power. Yet we put ourselves in these little boxes. I'm not lovable. And then we live out this pattern to prove that we're lovable. And then was like, I'm lovable, I'm not lovable, I'm lovable. No, I'm not lovable. Okay, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna lose everything and I'm totally gonna be not lovable and the universe won't even love me. God won't even love me. He'll take everything from me because I'm unlovable. The one human of all creation that's unlovable. So, in the absence of this belief that I'm not lovable, what becomes available to you?
I think a direct,
Don't think, feel.
a feeling of safety
Hmm.
that I can't fail anymore. There is no fail.
How does that feel? There's no failing, Adam. You cannot fail in this life.
Oh, that feels like it's so it's powerful, and I feel like I felt this sort of tingling. I would call it, from a religious aspect, I would call it the spirit of truth. Like
Yes.
the Holy Spirit tells me that I truly, if it is true that I am lovable, then
We're gonna stop there. Are you still questioning it?
no.
All right, continue.
But if my brain will allow my heart to feel that I'm lovable, then there is no possible way that I can fail.
So what do you got to tell your brain to let your heart take over?
Oh man. I like if it's that easy, um, I guess I don't know what I would have to say to convince my brain that my heart can believe it. I don't know. It's
Yeah. You want a little exercise?
yes.
Okay. So like stay in the feeling state, right? Like the Holy Spirit, like I know this is like a light, tingly sensation. You feel a little free and expansive. Like you don't have to, you could put your hand on your heart and you don't, you just, you're going to breathe a little bit slower and deeper than usual. Okay.
Okay.
And then breathe as if you're breathing in and out of your heart. And then focus on a person or place that you love deeply. So with every breath in and every breath out, that love is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And just let that wash over your whole body. And as you're doing that, I know you like systems and processes, so this is actually how you could change your state or frequency or biologically speaking, your parasympathetic on demand. And then practically speaking, this is how you can get out of your head into your heart and not be as in your head as you go about life.
I've heard it said being in your head, being in my head, being in a head space,
Yeah,
as opposed to being in our heart.
yeah,
And that that is a lot of what it seems like I do when I disconnect is I go up into my head.
yep,
And my wife has said many times that she can tell when I do that
yeah,
because I'm like a robot zombie.
yep. Just staring off into no man's land. I know what you're talking about.
So if what I just heard you say is true, I'm not saying that I don't believe you. I just want to basically restate
Yeah,
what I think the process is that you just took me through.
yeah,
If I want to be able to do this for the rest of my life, which why wouldn't I if it works, is focus my attention and reset my breathing in combination so that my focus is on, and for me, it's my son and my daughter and my wife that focus goes to.
yeah.
And I have them on a picture on my wall that I'm looking up at.
Yeah.
When when my kids were babies and like some of the happiest times we had, those are the pictures that I have right there.
Ooh, I feel that. Feel like that in the heart and like a little bit lower, like lighting up in my own body. Yeah, and the imitation would for a second to be is put up a mirror, let yourself feel that love come back into your own heart. So try this. You can close your eyes if you want. You don't have to. I want you to visualize your daughter, son, and wife looking at you as you're breathing that love out to them. And now I want you to flip it. I want you to look at you through their eyes and feel the love that you are projecting into them and receive that love. That's right. That's your love. Your whole life you've been fighting and serving and showing up to give. Like let that into your own heart. How's that?
It it's powerful and hard to do at the
It
same
is.
time.
It is. Wait, what? I gotta give that love that I've been giving my whole life to others back to myself? What is this?
And it's really funny too, because this is the kind of stuff that I think our culture sort of makes fun of to one degree in movies and media. There are scenes where I think lots of movies will show somebody looking at themselves in the mirror and trying to just reflect back love. And every just seems like everybody makes fun of it.
Yeah,
And that's sad.
yeah. Like the thing we want so bad, right? We all got this inner child who's doesn't feel safe and has their lack-based belief and wants to belong. And then like we make fun of it when we just want that mirror for that love to come back into us. And then to go forward, I want you to imagine this being now full of love for yourself, where you like Adam cannot fail. Adam cannot fail. Like what becomes available now of who you can become and what you can create moving forward.
I can create a safe space for myself and for everybody I want to connect with instead of being scared that it'll fail.
Yeah, can you see how profound that shift is?
Yep.
Like think about time, connection, laughs, love, self-love. I can keep going. Money, think about how much more income that can generate, uh, friendships, opportunities, new experiences with friends, deeper connections in the community with a church and everywhere else. How does that feel?
Feels like that is what life should truly be and nothing else. And I know it's going to take work to get there.
Yeah. So this is where we pull what can you be so committed to that you're willing to pay the price of transformation, right? To continuously build that safe space for yourself and practice connecting with others in ways that are outside your old way of being. Up until now, how can you like step into that version of you that can connect and practice connecting in that way?
Um, how can I step into that? Um, I think I can do that by uh, I don't know why this is so hard to articulate. I feel like I can imagine what needs to happen, but I think practicing reflecting back my own love and self-worth to myself and being comfortable doing that and getting better and better at doing that and practicing that and building that into one of my superpowers.
Yes.
And I still have just the barest concept of how we did that. I don't remember the visualization that you had me do. I know my family was in there, and but like I do feel like that's a powerful tool and process
Yeah. Yeah.
that
You
I
get
could
knowledge
become.
for being so in it. You're just like fully present with it. So let's push a little bit further. This is kind of lifting the weight. So just now I'm asking you to lift weight. Like if you're the version of Adam right now with a superpower who's reflecting self-love, can feel it, and is that mirror and light for others, like how does that version of Adam show up in life?
That version of Adam shows up and has has just complete and full confidence that God wants what's best for me. He wants me to get what I want. And I have a full belief of that, not just a glimpse. Like I fully believe that it's true to the extent that it's not it's not even a shadow in my mind
Mm.
keeping me back anymore. Because right now it's a dark cloud that basically lives with me, and I can push it back regularly, but it comes out constantly, this dark cloud of fear and uh, unknowing, unknown self-love.
Now
So
watch language because like we just words are powerful, right? So just up until now.
right,
Gotta throw that in there. Up until now.
yep. Up until now, I have seen my own pattern, and now I see a new pattern. And I see a way to step into who I want to become.
Yeah. So what advice would that ultimate power, superpower Adam give to the version that got stuck in the dark cloud?
Oh, my future self.
Yeah. Or
That
that self
is,
that's in you somewhere. We're just bringing that to the surface more and more, right? Getting rid of the stuff that doesn't serve you. Like, what would that say to the version of you that can get stuck in that place?
I would say, if if you can practice that uh, process that Dave showed you to ground yourself in that love that exists, get out of your head, and if you can become a master at that, then you can become the ultimate version of yourself that can exist. And I believe that it can. And I believe that you're worth it.
Yeah, did you write that down?
No.
So the quick coherence or heart coherence technique is like what the actual tool is called. There's a lot of fun science you could That's a whole rabbit hole in of itself. But that, remember, and that you are worth it. Just try to capture some of that for yourself.
The heart coherence technique. That's the one where I hold up a mirror in my head.
I added that's the breathing in and out of the heart, a little slower and deeper than usual, and feeling the love. I added the mirror, so you could write plus mirror.
Okay. Okay. Would it be okay if I went pee real quick?
Yes, yeah, do what you got to do.
Okay.
All right. So now, kind of going a little bit. I'm curious if there's anything else, showing up as this version of you. You could say being now, creating that safe space for you, yourself and everybody where you could connect, reflecting that self love and more comfortable, and it's a superpower, and you have full confidence, and God knows wants what's best for you, and you can fully receive that and fully believe and no longer shadow. How else would you show up to be the one who creates the vision of the $1.5 million a year and 15% body fat?
I don't know what would be accurate to say here. I feel like um,
That's okay. We can make a shitty first draft.
if I were just, yeah, if I were to just say whatever's on the top of my mind, I would
Yeah.
say I would need to recruit other people to help me in this process.
Okay. What does that specifically mean?
That I don't know,
Okay.
but um, I'm sure that there's there's going to be someone that I need to be accountable to, and you know, if that's you, that's you. And there is a book that I read by, I can't remember his name, but it's called Who, Not How.
Mm.
And I feel like that principle is something I can take advantage of better the more I become the best version of myself. I'll be able to recruit the best versions of other people who can help me go further and further.
Yeah, I love that. And then I would say like there's opportunity to upgrade language, right? A big part of the meta performance model is integrity. So we're like identifying who you're becoming, because then it's about living in integrity with that version. Where accountability is like, yeah, I'm still my limited self, or whatever it is. I'm still this old way. I'm gonna be accountable to showing up in these new ways. Versus how do we go deeper? Oh no, I'm committed to being this version, and how do I live integrity with that? Um, but can I get uh, real and just share my own experience?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's occurring for me, and because I could like resonate with parts of your story, and feeling like all alone and the helplessness for me, it was like the powerlessness, and I just got to do it on my own, and even came up too like safe space to connect to yourself, and then everyone around you. So even that of like recruiting other people, I'm hearing it's come up more and more in my own journey of like even something as simple as asking for help, right? Being able to say like I don't know and ask for help and trust that the right help is going to present itself. Um, which for you is part of that practice of like, how can I connect with more people? And some of that is building trust, and we build trust by asking for help. And some people help, and then some people, burn the bridge a little bit, and then we repair it, and the bridge gets stronger. But yeah, what comes up just sharing that?
Well, my journey of trying to understand how to connect with people outside my family has been a long and difficult one. And so I don't ask people for help.
Yeah,
And I don't know exactly why that is, but I think that's probably part of why it's hard for me to connect very deeply, very often. Because I feel like if I ask people for one thing, like if I'm in a sales meeting, for example, and I ask my prospect for the sale, that is asking them for something. And I I do feel kind of a little bit afraid of doing that even like closing a sale.
yeah,
Like it's a similar thought process, I think, to if I'm just trying to connect with somebody for no other reason than to be a good human and practice connecting for real, I've also got to ask them for help because something you just said, we build trust by asking for help. And you gotta trust the people that you want to build relationships with.
yeah. And this
So
word just keeps blaring in my head, so I'll just share it. And we can do this through curiosity,
we can do what through curiosity?
asking for help or connecting with others. Like it's almost like coming back to that childlike state of like, oh, I'm just curious. Or it's not like, am I going to say the wrong thing and then I'm not lovable and then that proves my, story of my limited self right and then back into the old pattern. Or even building trust. Ooh, I'm curious if this is a relationship, friendship, opportunity, whatever it is, professional development that could turn into more trust, right? Instead of the judgment. Because this is what we do to ourselves. We judge ourselves, and the inner critic first, like being curious. Oh, wow, I'm curious about that pattern that brings up despair. And you see what happens when you get really curious and you have somebody reflect back with no guilt or shame and just love, right? Like that's what we went through today.
Yeah, so curiosity instead of judgment.
Yeah.
That's a meditation technique that I've used a little bit, just when I have thoughts in meditation, instead of judging them, just be more
Yeah.
curious about them.
Yeah. So same moving forward when you like when the patterns come up, instead of getting lost in them, it's like, ooh, like, oh, how fascinating. Oh, and I notice these feelings come up. And it's like, okay, what gets me back into my heart? Okay, ground into my heart. All right, silly me. I'm still human. I'm still gonna have these feelings come up. So how do I accept it into my heart and to like bring it home today? Like, Adam, you looked at the dragon of your worst fears in the eye today, and you did open up your heart to it, right? And then you brought it back to truth, and then truth like burns that dragon down, and then you're like, all right, how can we use this pattern and fears that's been part of my story to propel us into new heights moving forward? So not to repress it, but acknowledge it and like use that as the furnace of your transformation. So just want to acknowledge you for going deep today, and usually it's like a really clear strategy, like third of this of like, okay, what are the next steps to start to, you know, create the business results as well as the body fat, like what health things are next down the road to get into place, and leaving with commitment. Because like I said, where the meta performance model is different than other programs is like the coach of the meta performance model, like I'm here to be that your strong, like to fight for your integrity like nobody else in your life. And a lot of people play the accountability game, but it's like, how do you live in commitment to your integrity? But the integrity is based off two things. One, to keep your word and be a powerful being that can keep its word. Two, to explore what you're capable of. So sometimes you're going to make commitments, and there's some tools even in like giving feedback or owning when you break a commitment with a loved one, of when you break a commitment, how you can repair that, right? By asking somebody, what impact did that have on you? Receiving that feedback out of curiosity, do you forgive me? And like move forward. And that's kind of how you build trust, right? Like you put yourself out there, the other person's self out there. Eventually, we hurt each other because we're humans, and then we ask for forgiveness, and like then was like, oh, okay, it deepens the trust. Um, so that's just to say, in the last 10 minutes, is there any commitments moving forward uh, that you've uncovered for yourself right now?
One of the commitments that I need to move forward with is to use the technique that you showed me, the heart coherence plus the mirror, as often as I can before I have any conversations, even probably just do it at the beginning of every day.
Okay. For how long?
Um, I don't know how to gauge how how to make it as effective as possible. It didn't seem to take that long when you just showed me. It took like a minute. But is there a good litmus test that you found or no?
No, that one is just how long do you want to be committed to try this new experiment out for a time frame.
Oh, like, well, I'm going to do it every day for the rest of
Okay.
my life.
All right.
And so I already built that into my daily plan.
Yeah. So I love that. And what occurs to me is that might be that feels something in the realm of possible.
Oh yeah,
So
for
if we're to
sure.
hold that commitment and then create another commitment that's outside your intuitive fence, what could that be?
Um, Living in integrity to the ultimate version of myself.
Okay, and this is where we're gonna get specific. So let's create a sprint, something that in a week's time that we could check in and be like, yes or no, did Adam live into that? I don't know if it's a hard conversation, it's asking for help in some way, or like anything. It could be fitness, business, or anything at all. What could that be?
I think, yeah. So if it needs to be measurable and specific,
Yeah.
then something to do with the curiosity and asking for help. Those are two specific things that I've never done uh, consistently before.
Okay. So when it comes to, you have this thrilling vision, right? The 1.5 million revenue and 15% body fat. Who or how can you ask for help that will move you towards this vision that would just be ecstatic for you to live into?
Well, I can make a goal of asking a certain amount of people for help every day
Okay.
to reach those goals.
All right. And what's that number?
I'm going to say two a day.
And is that inside your intuitive fence or outside?
That's outside
Beautiful.
because one would be inside.
Okay. Awesome. So the invitation here is to do a little experiment, right? Uh, 7 days, but it's ultimately your choice. Like, what would be a time in a week that could check on this? Um, and that's where I'm happy to offer like a 30-minute check-in and see how it went for you.
I'm going to be on vacation
Oh,
starting
nice.
Saturday. It's spring break.
Oh, yes. Yeah, same for us. That's right.
So
So could check in before or could check in when you get back from vacation.
I think if we check in Friday,
Okay. So asking for help 2 times a day until Friday,
yeah,
plus practicing at least once a day the heart coherence technique.
yeah,
How do you feel about those commitments?
I'm I'm scared about the one asking people for help. That's the one that my brain is starting to spin on right now. That's I'm going up into my head about that.
Yeah, just acknowledge that, right? This is you getting outside your intuitive fence. So that's what our brain does. It wants to put us in that comfort zone, but that's where the growth lies. So
Yep.
it's to come back to we created this thrilling life vision, and there's the reality of this moment, right? And then there's the gap. And for so long, you've been relating in the way of the fear getting in the way, but you have the same choice through love. So the invitation too is how can you choose love through it all, right? Moving forward, and we'll check in on Friday with that. So got 5 minutes. Want to be on point with time. Any questions before figure out a time to schedule for a Friday check-in?
Nope.
All right. When is a good time Friday?
Let me see here. Friday the 28th. I'm free after 10:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Okay. Mountains 1 hour off. That's correct, right? Pacific.
Yeah, I'm 1 hour ahead of Pacific.
So if we did either, you said after 10, was that right?
Yep.
Okay. So do you want to do 10 a.m. Mountain Time?
Um, if we could make it like 10:15, my
Sure.
appointment gets done right at 10.
You want to put an extra buffer just so you don't have to stress? We can even do an hour later. I do have time at 12 p.m. Pacific, which would be, or later, 1 p.m. Mountain. I guess
Yeah,
just,
let's do that. That would be good.
okay. All right. I'll send an email invite
Okay.
and we'll check in with the commitments. We'll see what came up during this time because part of this model, right? You create these commitments knowing that some of them you're going to break. Not saying this is going to be the case for you, but when you do, you get to learn about your blind spots. And this is where so many people get stuck because it's the guilt or shame comes in or the despair of the old pattern. And instead, it's like, ooh, we literally call it the growth process. Like, ooh, what do we get to discover, right? What's the little gold we're going to uncover about ourselves? And then, like a kid, you just shake it off and, all right, how do we get back into alignment with our vision? So we'll go through that. We'll check in on the commitment, and then I can answer any questions of what it looks like of partnering up to create the vision if you want to work together. But part of this is making sure it's a hell yes on both sides. So just kind of feeling out in that conversation if we both are a hell yes. Uh, and then also too, like, no, I'm seeing it's also a test on myself or like here, like I'm looking for people that do follow through with their commitments because otherwise, what are we doing? We're wasting each other's time. So I'm a, I'm
I hate
excited to
doing
drop
that.
in with you Friday, and I want to acknowledge you in the last couple minutes. Like we did some deep work today. I didn't know if we were gonna go that deep, but we did some deep work. So like celebrate yourself. I hope you could really acknowledge because you were willing to go there. Like we were able to uncover a lot of gold. But how did you feel about today's session?
I felt awesome. I feel like you've given me very concrete processes and specific goals, which work very well for my personality. And just FYI, I've been fasting all day, so I'm currently fasting.
Okay, so
And I
still,
just feel like that's a way for me to just try and enhance any emotional, spiritual impressions that I might feel.
no,
So I really intentionally set myself up for success. Like I've had no distractions at all,
no,
and I just gave you my full attention. And I feel like I put into this a lot of effort and time, and I feel like you did as well. So we did a good thing today.
I agree. Yeah, my occurrence was the same. So but sometimes I ask people to commit fully, yet totally surrender. So you did. You showed up everything you needed to do to commit fully, and you were so surrendered that you lost track of some of the, names of the tools that I shared with you, which was beautiful. So, yeah, powerful, powerful session today.
Yep, agreed.
All right, Adam. Well, I'll check in with you on Friday. Just curious, where you going on vacation?
Um, I know we're going to be visiting several different states. We're driving an RV through church history
Okay,
sites
beautiful.
like Wyoming, Omaha, Missouri. My wife is the one that created the itinerary, so I'll just drive us wherever we're going.
There it is. All right, surrender to the adventure. I love it. All right, Adam. Well, I'll send that email invite, and I will connect Friday.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Yep. See ya.